It's the new dawn. The sun rises every day. The star at the center of our solar system makes up 99.86% of the solar system's mass. Light from the sun reaches the earth. 8 minutes. The sun's core, 13,600,000 degrees Celsius. The sun's surface temperature is around 5,500 degrees Celsius. Except the sun's green fish. Many early cultures saw the sun as a deity god. Bright lights.
And welcome. Oh my God, Brian. Another
Crazy.
one.
Evil ghost, man. We got to get rid of that moon juice from last week, bro. All gone now, man.
Uh,
Sun
it,
has shown up. It is a new day.
that's
Good.
right.
Googly moogly.
You know
Crazy,
what?
crazy.
I kind of feel like I want to put you on the screen there, little, so people can actually watch you reacting to the video
I
because
can't help it.
it's so amazing to watch the energy and you like, you know what the parts are and you know what's coming up and you're just like, it's awesome. It goes with it.
Well, all those videos wound up being like these symbolic musical, expressions of exactly how I felt about about the card. And that with the whole like explosion of the sun, the sun is like every direction. It's 360 degrees. It's every planet. It's every color. Yeah.
It's amazing. Well, and with that, welcome to Monday.
Yeah. Hey, before we get off the video,
Okay.
I neglected last week to mention my good bud Brannon, who also was the scientist in the movie. He and I used each other for those videos all the time because we were always available and we were cheap and we never said no. So he was the scientist in that. But last week also on that video that we played, The Lovers, it's a funny story on that, and I really wanted to share that with you guys. I had been the driving creative kind of instigator for all these songs, and we were cranking them out. I'm like, dude, you write really well. He's a very talented musician, and I dig the way he writes, and that interaction has really brought some fresh and crazy cool stuff. So I said, listen, why don't you come and bring the fodder to me, and let's work on it from that reverse mode. He goes, okay. So he shows up the next week, man, the song is finished, right? Like you couldn't change a thing and not completely screw it up, like done, right? Yeah. He's like, I couldn't stop, man. Good. Anyway, it's one of my favorite songs, and I just wanted to give him props and thanks for, he's like, none of those videos would have happened without him. So
yeah, awesome. Props to Brad. And you know what? And watching them and they're building on each other each week. We're seeing more and more. And there is this kind of sound healing element to it. You know what I mean? Like there's a light language going on. There's like so many layers that are happening because of all the intention that you put into it. You know what I mean?
This crazy, we're about to get to the end of the first chunk of what people call the Fool's Journey. We're getting up to the universe, which will be like the 21st card, 22 cards, counting the Fool as 0. And, so it's like, we've almost completed the whole journey. And man, I don't know about you, but when this thing, and I've been reviewing how this all happened. We did that first show, and then we came on and we did the Magus, right? And in the Magus show, I got all spunky, right? Let's do an effect. So I did that spin thing in the very first show. And as I review and go back over what's happened since then, I think that just woke it up on a really crazy magical level. And since then, it's just, at least for me, has been a card by card ride through the initiation on such an extreme and undeniable level that it's kind of taken my breath away a couple times. It's kicked me right in the face a couple times. It's been joyous over the top, like tonight.
You seem pumped up. You seem totally
but really crazy. So anyway, we got a lot to do. We got our friend Jenna, who's a really, really great card reader and a crystal creature like myself. I'm so excited. I brought some of my favorite guys. We're gonna totally talking about that, and we're gonna go over the sun. So I'm gonna just do a quick review on the moon last week and kind of bring you up to speed on where we are on that, and then we'll dive into the sun.
Cool.
Yeah. So the moon, I thought I was going to kind of get away. It was going to be easy, right? Yeah, right. So early last week, I wound up kind of busting out something. I've been doing this really deep core level shadow work for about the last 6-8 months, really intense, and some crazy things have come out of that. And I wound up finding myself at this place where I needed to express that, or it was going to hold me prisoner forever. And so I wound up doing that to somebody I really trusted very much, and felt really good about that. And like the week went along, okay, everything was kind of really super cool, and then like I don't know. Sometime over the weekend, man, the moon showed up and just threw this blanket of like confusion and insecurity and fear and like all this like goo on this diffusion and shadowy unclearness on stuff that like just the day before was crystal, and so it's obviously me, and my reaction to this energy. So just like back at the devil, when the devil showed up and we were in that zone and it was just going through thing after thing after thing after thing to try to knock me off my center, and I just kept going, just finding that blank space and just staying there and as much as I could and not letting that knock me off my center. And that's pretty much how I made it through the last couple of days, because they were awful, like awful, really bad.
So now I understand what the conversation we were having earlier. You were kind of asking me about the moon moment. So you want
to I have to say,
on that?
All of my fears about that, I guess it could be right. I'm a pretty good reader. I'm pretty good intuitive. But at the same time, I just kept saying, this doesn't fit. This doesn't fit. This doesn't fit. This doesn't fit. And I just kept going, things are not what they seem. That's a whole gig about this card, man.
That's what
things are not what they freaking seem. Right. And man, I haven't had a chance to sit down and kind of go through it really, but hopefully that'll be coming up in the next few days. And in the sun energy. All right, man.
Cool.
So how about you? Any craziness you want to report, or?
I think as I was telling you, I am going through some interesting I want to say health things, but not necessarily physical things. Like I had a dental issue over the last couple of days where I was in a lot of pain. And I got it resolved today. I'm having some surgery tomorrow, getting a tooth extracted, but it was kind of all of a sudden it hit me like it wasn't just a physical thing, right? The physical thing was just the 3D manifestation of the spiritual thing that was going on. And I was like, wow, whatever's going on right now with me is definitely on all dimensions. It's not just a physical thing.
Could not have said it better.
Yeah, it's happening. It's happening to all the different multiverse versions of myself, the higher selves, the lower selves.
Well, and as much as you can, take your objective observer and step outside yourself and watch it. That's when you get some really kind of crazy insights. That's not from the emotional feeling space. That's from the objective observer. Just look at it.
Right. That's exactly what I've been doing. And it's kind of cool because I feel like, wow, look at me. And, I'm able to step outside of myself and watch how I respond to things. And I'm like, wow, look at the skills that have been built up in responding to things. You know what I mean? Being able to respond to it on a much deeper level, and not just a surface level. So I think that's how the whole things are not what they appear to be applies to my personal life over the last couple of days.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's a new week. It's the sun.
Yeah.
To that issue, let's introduce our special guest. I'm very, very excited about this.
Awesome.
This is somebody that Jilly introduced me to, and our friend Jenna, and she is a really great tarot reader, and has a show on every morning on Instagram, and I've been lurking on there, and she's just has a really kind heart, and the people that connect to her are like just really connect up on a super deep level. And
Yeah.
I'm very excited to have that energy. And she's been reading for a long time too. I can't wait to, get her insight on some of these cards. And she is also a crystal. As a matter of fact, she's got a number of shops, and crystals and minerals are like big in there. So
yeah. Let's let her tell us about the shops. I actually saw Jenna on Sunshine Show last week, and it was really amazing to watch them have their conversation. But there were so many synchronicities between the two of them, as far as like growing up in the same town and knowing the same people. Like they all had worked with the same people, and like, Jenna would bring up an old shop in the town, and Sunshine would be like, yeah, I used to live right across the street from that shop. And it was just so much connection. So let's, without further ado, welcome to the show, Jenna Turner. Welcome.
Hi, good evening.
Hey, Jenna.
How you doing? Look at that bright smile. Look at that glow. You could see she's just lighting up the screen there. That's awesome.
Nice to meet you both.
Yeah, nice to meet you.
Thank you so much for coming on. I'm glad you decided to jump in the sandbox. We've got plenty of toys, so we'll have a good time.
Thank you for having me.
So I would just love to give you a moment here to just tell our audience about Breathe and your shops and who is Jenna Turner?
Yeah, so I am Jenna Turner. I opened up my first crystal shop 16 and a half years ago. And I was content just making that one shop survive, because it took forever for that to happen. And 4 years ago, it was literally like the craziest roller coaster. I mean, everything in life is a roller coaster. Life is a roller coaster. But it seemed like as I was starting to make a name for myself, everything was changing on the outside of my world. And the whole reason why I started the shop was because everything inside my world was changing. So it was like self wanted to explore outside, and then outside was changing. So I had to come back to self. So during that time where everything was like a lull, I went really deep back into my sense of spirituality. Like, I feel like what brought me back to the shop was probably some hidden path that maybe was like underneath the stepping stones that was bringing me onto this trip, this endeavor. And then as because I opened in 2006, and then the market changed in 2008 and 2009, and I was just starting to make a name for myself in my first town, and then nobody was shopping anymore. So instead of just closing my doors, I moved from my original location to Port Jefferson, and I was still having a really hard time making a name for myself in the way the store was kind of like operating. So because it was so slow, I was doing readings before work, readings after work, Reiki treatments before work, Reiki treatments after work, teaching meditation on Mondays at noon. I would literally not even open till 1 on Mondays. And meditation on Wednesdays at 7. And then I just kept adding classes, like going back to my old tools. Okay, what do I enjoy? I enjoy crystals. I enjoy tarot. So I started teaching classes on tarot and classes on crystals. And then Pokemon came, and they made my store a Pokestop. I had no idea what Pokemon was. I missed the whole era of Pokemon. Didn't even know what Pokemon was.
Oh my gosh.
And you would see people like on their phone, and they'd be like, when did this store get here? And then all the Poke people would come in. So I would say like maybe whenever that craze was, 6 years ago is when my store finally started to change. So now you're talking, this is 16 and a half years. So it's like 10 years in. Talk about how they tell you it takes 3 years for a business to survive. It takes 5 years for a business to survive. It took me like 10 years.
Wow.
And then 4 years ago, I opened up my second shop, and then bam, I just kept opening shops. Like in the last 4 years, I've opened 4 shops.
Wow. Congratulations. That sounds awesome.
All in the same area, or kind of all over?
So my first shop is in Port Jeff. My second shop is in Bayshore, New York. Riverhead, New York is my third. Oyster Bay, New York is my fourth. And I just opened in San Antonio, Texas with my son.
Wow. Congratulations. That sounds amazing.
So, and then of course, working behind the scenes allows me to be a better operator, I guess I would say. But we've been a little short-staffed with the highs and lows of COVID, and just the highs and lows of people wanting to work and not wanting to work.
Yeah.
So I'm back in the shops like a good 7 days a week. So I'm tired.
I bet.
And I don't get
you do the show every morning, right?
I do the show every morning. Yeah. That was something. So I've always been a tarot card reader, and I'm sure we'll touch upon that. But I started doing the readings during COVID because I was genuinely missing like adult conversation.
Right.
I was like, this is crazy. I was so addicted to my customers in like a positive way that like I lost my sense of community. So I started doing 3 things. I would do the tarot card readings, no matter where I was. It could be the parking lot of Walmart. It could be the parking lot behind my Riverhead store, going to get supplies or whatever. Literally vacation, whatever the case might be. I was doing tarot card classes on Zoom. And then we were doing tarot bingo, where I would like give them their information. I would pre-send them their tarot cards for the bingo cards. And then we would do live on Zoom tarot bingo, and you could win prizes. And I would mail them gifts or drop off gifts at their house. You know, just anything to have that sense of community.
Awesome. Awesome. Jilly says you are building a beautiful community, Jenna. Thank you. And that, you know what, that's the sense I got when I saw your interview with Sunshine, that you were really kind of this pillar, and not like with any sort of agenda or intention to be other than just being yourself, and it just brought your tribe to you, you know, and now you're kind of a pillar of the tribe, which is really awesome. So congratulations on that. That's very awesome. That's awesome.
So how did you actually get into to tarot, Jenna?
So funny. I was my mother's 5th child, and the first child was the golden child. That was my brother Anthony. And he married what us 4 jealous sisters would call the witch. We'd be like, because she stole our brother. You know, he was the first child, the boy, and there was 4 girls. So we didn't know much, and we just would like assume she was like this witch. She was like this tarot card, you know, gypsy fortune teller. And I think it was Christmas before my 15th birthday or Christmas of my 15th year. It was Christmas, and she was doing tarot card readings at the dining room table. It was literally like Christmas Eve night, you know, the big Italian get together. And she's reading my aunt, and I couldn't stop like twitching. And usually like that's something like 8-year-olds do or 7-year-olds do, but I'm literally like a young adult, and I'm like twitching, and she's like looking at me, and I'm like, my feet were getting really hot. My palms were getting really hot. I remember so much that my feet felt like frostbite. And she finally, like, and I wish I remembered word for word, but this is so long ago that I don't remember word for word. But I just remember she was like, go underneath the Christmas tree and get your present. And I really genuinely wish I remember everything, but she was like, go and get it. And I got it. And it was a deck of tarot cards. She said like the fact that I couldn't sit still was that like the energy was all like calling me.
Wow.
I was so like engaged. I just remember being so engaged. Like, what are they doing? And like feeling all this energy around the cards, you know?
Wow.
So she had pre-bought me my deck, and I didn't even know it. Like, it was literally going to be tomorrow's present, you know?
What deck was it, just out of curiosity?
Do you know I still have it? I still use it, like, all the time. My classic Rider-Waite. It's literally falling apart. I scotch tape the edges.
Right? Yeah, those, you can't give them up. That's like, you know, as many printings, it's like it's about to fall off. It's like, no.
It's like, in this, my friend Danny bought me, like, the leather case for it, and it's, like, in this special little case that I'm, like, making sure it goes in there gently.
That's awesome.
I have a funny story for you. I was living in Atlanta at the time, and I was diving in head first, and this was back before internet and any connection like that. So it was just new age bookstores and talking to people. So I decided, man, I want to get into tarot really bad. So I go to the local little new age place, the Sphinx and the Dragon, and just dive in. I go through every deck they have, and I got absolutely sucked into Frida Harris's artwork for the Thoth deck. So I buy the Thoth deck. My first deck, I knew nothing about magic. No elements, no planets, no nothing. Which that could not be the worst deck in the world to get as your first deck.
That's so I wide-eyed you.
Yeah, so I took it home, looked at it for a little while, put it away, and then decided to go back and get a Rider-Waite deck. And I read with that for about 5 years, and then finally figured it out. but that was kind of crazy. Yeah. I still love her artwork though, man. Frida Harris's paintings for that deck are just over the top.
Wow.
You have a favorite deck?
I mean, I think it's still the Rider-Waite.
Yeah.
Yeah. This new deck that I've just recently been using, the Zodiac Tarot, is really nice. There's quite a few decks. I mean, I genuinely have probably like 90
so
decks.
many. Yeah.
But you know, that's the luxury of being a business owner. Something comes in and you're like, I have to have this.
Have you ever considered doing your own?
I've absolutely considered it. And I sometimes think that's why I'm single, because every time I think I'm going to find love, I go right back into my spirituality. And I'm taking 2023 to just be single and pour back into me. I have ideas for an Oracle deck and I have ideas for a tarot deck.
Awesome. That's wonderful. Yeah. That's actually what brought us here. That's what started this whole thing is Brian's Wizard of Oz deck. And that's those are the cards we've been using. I don't know if you've seen the deck. I think we're probably going to be getting one to you. I'm imagining that's in the works.
You know, so Zin gets the deck, and we kind of connected up on my light painting page on Facebook, and roundabout Zin finds out I did my own, and he winds up getting this. The 10th anniversary thing was. It took me 10 years. I finally got to see it the way I actually wanted to see it. Like, with all the gold and crap. Like, it was just really wonderful. Anyway, so Michael was like, wow, I'd really like to learn. And we said, well, let's do a show.
That's
and we were going card by card through the deck and taking the major arcana. And, you know, I don't know about you, but the whole like story of the Fool's Journey is just such a wonderful little mythos, you know, and every reader, you know, that gets into it seriously winds up with their own mythos of it and their own version of it, you know, and it's just such a great way to teach somebody new, because you wind up each week building a little story, you know,
of course,
that you can remember, and it's not just random cards anymore. So we've been trying to fill Michael's skull up with goodness.
Certainly I've been filling my skull with lots of stuff. Those videos are also amazing. Brian's art is amazing, and I just felt like the world needed to see more of Brian. So here we are, and now it's turned into bringing on wonderful guests like yourself, and really, really opening up and making connections. And
do you know Be Divine by any chance?
I don't.
Yeah, I should hook you up with her. I think you guys would really like.
Yeah, she's
enjoy
awesome.
each other, and she does it. She does a daily reading thing also. Just really, really good soul. I've met some of the greatest people through this journey, man.
I love that.
Kind of been very, very amazing, and to be so out of control. You know, I'm always like, no, I want to be controlling that. No, man, I am in the slipstream, and it is bouncing me all over the room. And it's a surprise every second. Which for an Aquarian, what could be better?
I was just going to say, what is your sun sign? And you literally, I was like leaning in, but I didn't want to interrupt you. And there it is.
Yeah, I'm an Aquarian with Sag rising, baby. Wowzer. Yeah, kind of crazy.
Yes, Brian's got some amazing energy, and actually it's been amazing to watch that energy evolve from when we first started talking, Brian, till now. You have just like really, really like evolved. You know, maybe you don't see it, but you know, you were a little more soft spoken when I met you, and now it's like we're like, you know, we bounce each other out. I'm the calm one, and you're like but you gotta do this one. And it's
passion,
great.
Man. It's like, you know,
I love
it's all
the
about the energy. You know that. That's everything I am about, is about the energy. It's not about the dogma or the systems or the rules.
Everything is energy. The energy exchange. The energy exchange is what it's all about for me. So I've been just absorbing a lot of Brian, and I'm sure there's going to be a moment when it comes back out and reflects to the world. But let's get into the.
So let's discuss the sun. Yeah. Man, I don't know about you, but that is just absolutely one of my favorite cards. There's like, you know, pretty much every card you can find kind of it's got a great side and it's got a wob side, you know, but it's really hard to find a balanced side to the sun. You know, it's like all encompassing. You know, usually the cards relate to a singular planet or a sign that it's associated with, but it encompasses all the planets, all the signs, all the colors of the spectrum are come out of that light in 360 degrees all the time. Wow.
I'm going to bring up the artwork here for the card, and this is the card for the sun from the Wizard of Oz deck. And let me zoom in on the top.
I did these with incense smoke, Jenna. They're photographs of incense smoke.
Whoa,
kind of fun.
That is really cool. Okay, that explains it. Because before, when you gentlemen were speaking, I closed my eyes for a quick second because I had a weird little twitch going on. And I saw this image when Michael was speaking of like, and that's exactly what this looks like. That's kind of crazy. But I had this image of like circles and then a circle in the center. And that's kind of what this reminds me of. But when he was speaking about health, that's what I saw was like these 3 images of circles all kind of intertwined with each other. Oh, and I hadn't seen this card, your version of this card. So that explains a lot.
That's so cool. I love that.
Yeah, I really enjoy this. You know, this deck got started as a challenge from my teacher, and he kept trying to goad me. I've been reading for 40 years now, and he kept trying to goad me into doing my own deck. And I'm like, bro, 78 cards, man. I mean, just 78 original pieces of artwork to me at that time was too daunting to even think about, you know. So he kept bugging me and I kept putting him off, and finally he conned me into just doing one card. Do the Magus card, man. Just let me see how you'd come, you know, how you'd handle that. And of course I did the Magus card. I got all excited, and that wound up happening on the winter solstice. And then I was just hell bent for leather, man. It was just every day. I couldn't stand it. I wanted to work on it all the time. And I wound up finishing up the photography for it on the equinox, on the spring equinox. So it's kind of a weird little magical baby that happened there.
Wow.
And I have to give him credit for conning me in, because I was and you know this to be true. Just getting the deck itself done, okay, that's one thing enough. And you know, I didn't want to do just another. There's so many beautiful decks, thousands of them out there. Why, you know, if you're going to put another deck out there, it should be something different. So I've been fascinated with divination systems of all kinds all my life. So I have 4 or 5 of them that I've used. I'm really well versed in, and I included all of those with this deck. So most of them are on the 16 court cards, because, you know, like runes and geomancy and the Magio-Doos, they all come in 16s, which was a really great way to attach those with those cards. So it became like super thick. And, you know, like if you just busted it out of the deck or the box for the first time, the little keywords at the upper right-hand corner, you could get some kind of reading. But then you could go on with this deck like forever and ever and ever. But sitting down to do the manual for this was just, Jenna, over the top, man. Because it wasn't just doing the manual for a tarot deck itself is a daunting task, but when you add the other systems into it as well, it just became a whoa. what did I get myself into here? You know, but it wound up working out really great. Anyway, I'm going to shut up and ask you to give us your insight.
I could drink you in. I'm just listening to it. Like your brain is like out beyond the space of the card, the scope of the card, the spectrum of the card. I have so many questions. I want to interview you. I think I want to interview you. So you made the deck and then you made the manual? You didn't make the manual first?
No, I did the deck first. You know, I know tarot like the back of my hand now. So like I didn't really have to go looking for meanings and stuff. I already kind of knew what I wanted to do, you know, at least as far as the main structure of the tarot thing. And my structure, because I'd read with the top deck for 25 years, it kind of like I wanted some sort of, you know, roadmap at least to get started. So, you know, some of the attributions like lust, you know, instead of strength, and, you know, instead of, you know, there are a bunch of different things that I followed the Thoth attributions on. But it wound up just being such a crazy, crazy experience and life experience on every level. I did that first deck like 10 years ago, almost 11 years ago now. And I never really intended for it to go out to anybody. You know, I just did it for me. It was like, it was going to be my Cadillac deck, you know? And then, do you remember, of course you remember, Eclectic Tarot and those guys there? Did you ever say, yeah, that was just an amazing tarot compendium that somebody had turned me on to. And there was like every deck in the world there. And they did this new deck, featured new deck thing every month. And somebody had sent her a PDF of my deck, and she ran my deck on the Eclectic Tarot site. And all of a sudden it kind of like took off and found a little audience in Vienna. And it's found these little niches of people that really dig it, which
yes. Well, Brian, you put your energy into it. It's got your consciousness. It carries that vibration. I mean, I'm just looking through the manual here, and we did this on the show. And I mean, you know, you went through creating sigils and what that all meant. And
wow,
that's a big part of the deck. You know, they're on the cards. You know, you can create sigils and all of the. I mean, there's so many layers besides just tarot. It actually put my thoughts about taking my artwork and making a deck on hold until I went through this and really learned it, because there was no way that I could not create a tarot deck without honoring the magic and the almost like the ancient you know, the ancient energy of it. I mean, it's real, you know what I mean?
Well, if you're making up your own oracle deck or your own divination system, then you can be free flowing with that. But, you know, if you're following a structure that's kind of existed for a while, you want to kind of fit in that flow.
Listen, I don't mind being the student to the mentor for a while and letting you just.
We all were.
Yeah. Yeah,
and that's the greatest place to be, man. I love teaching, and I love having my teacher beat the hell out of me and stretch me and make me learn something new that I just never would have thought of. And to be able to like pass, you know, it's great when you can like take your place in the chain, you know, and you receive and you pass on, you receive and you pass on. To me, that's when it just life feels right. When you're doing that, you know?
Can I ask you, did you read more intuitively and then learn professionally, or did you learn professionally and then try and read intuitively?
You know, I'm sort of a stickler for learning what the system was that existed. So I dove into that and really kind of like, you know, once I got over the Frida Harris pictures and decided I needed a deck I could actually understand, I got the Rider-Waite thing, you know, I really dove into what that is. And that's such a good deck for learning and figuring out, because all those images are so telling about what's actually happening with the meanings. And it's really good. So I stayed with that for a long time and really learned that system. And it's really become, honestly, after I started doing my own deck, when I did my own deck, I did the tarot deck, and then a year later, I did an angel oracle deck that was just mind-blowingly life-changing. I did all of those readings with automatic writing with that.
Wow.
And, oh my goodness, it was just crazy, crazy. So it was after I started creating my own and leaving the world of, you know, right now, like the standard meanings for the cards are just kind of the doorway. You know, and what the card really means plays off so much of the energy of the person that's there and how that's happening. And those wind up just becoming doorways to the intuitive part of it that then goes. How about yourself? How would you answer that question?
So I read intuitively, and I only took a professional class like maybe if I had to guess 8 years ago. And I felt like it hindered my ability to read only intuitively. I felt like if my ego came forward for a second, I would just go, oh, okay, but my teacher said it means this. So for the majority of me reading, because now I'm reading 35 years, right? Because I got my deck when I was 15. I just turned 50. So I've been reading 35 years, and not like someone who just picks it up once in a while. Like I've been reading this whole time. So I studied with her.
That's evident in the way you read, by the way. It's really cool to watch.
Thank you. So if I had to guess, say like 8 years ago or 7 years ago, I took this class with her, and she was my first tarot teacher. I never had a tarot teacher before that. And she happened to walk into the shop, and that morning I was thinking to myself, oh, I wish I could meet someone who could teach me more about the tarot. And I'm like up on a ladder, changing the music, and I turn and this vision in white walks in my store, and she's like, hello. And I'm like on the ladder, I'm like, hello. And she's like, do you do tarot card readings here? So I was like, yes, but by appointment only. And she's like, who's the tarot card reader? I was like, I'm Jenna Turner. And she's like, oh, I've been teaching tarot for some like 50 years. And I'm like, oh, my jaw just dropped. I was like, sign me up. So she taught me so much about the tarot that I didn't know in such a short time, that I felt like I was using it as a crutch. I think at that time in my life, I was going through such a shift that I was relying less on my intuition, where earlier I only was forced to use my intuition because there was no teacher that entered my life. And probably at that time, when it was like 8 years ago, it's like when my business was struggling, and I was like, okay, I want to become a yoga teacher. Okay, I want to become a Reiki master. Okay, I want to teach everything about crystals. Like there was all this, like, I was the fool. I was like, am I the beginning of the deck or am I the end of the deck? Like now I need this next chapter, and in she walks. I took all her classes, and every time she would teach someone in my store, I would stay present to be active in hearing what she would say to my students. And then I felt like, not because of anything she did, I just felt like I lost a version of myself, and I would rely so much on what my teacher taught me the card meant. And I still feel to this day that I lost some of my intuition when I'm looking at the card. But she said to me, because I asked her about that, she said, your tarot is only your veil. You're only just using it because you're afraid to look at your audience. So I've learned to rely more on my intuition without the tarot. So where it hindered me in one way as a reader, it helped me develop more and grow in like mediumship and psychic work.
Right.
Well, truly, you know, I just did some group readings for the Goddess Gathering here in Sebring, and I did like, you know, 10 little 15 half-hour readings right in a row, and you don't really have much time to like get going, you know. So I'm sitting there shuffling as the next person's coming up, and honestly, before the cards even got pulled, I already knew what I was going to say. Does that happen to you as well?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Let me ask you a question, Jenna, just so I can put it up on the bottom of the screen. What is that Instagram?
The Instagram for my shop?
Yeah, I haven't, not for your shop, but for your readings, because it's
on my shop's page, and I'll make sure that I'm really specific about it, because sadly in the last week 3 imposter accounts have popped up trying to pretend they're me.
I reported
never
one
had
of them,
that happen before.
Yep, I reported one of them.
But 3 of them have popped up this week. Yeah. So it's the name of my store, which is Breathe, BREATHE, and then the word inspiring, and gifts. Like if I was buying you a birthday gift, but more than one birthday gift. And there's no punctuation. The imposter accounts have added punctuation. So if you're looking for it to tag it, it's the one that has like 8,300 followers. So sad that there's like posers out there.
You know,
yep,
it really is. I don't understand why people have, but you know, it is what it is.
Duality, my friend, duality. Here we go. I'm going to just pop it up on the bottom of the screen for people to take a look if they want.
Yeah, I'll be on tomorrow at 8 a.m.
You know, Jen, I happened to catch one of your shows where you were like the first card, I think, was the 4 of Cups, and you were going into this explanation about the 4s and how they mean stability and how they relate to the different. Like, wow, Yes. So as we go through the rest of the deck, I hope you'll come back in and share some little jewels like that.
I would love that.
That would be really, really great.
That would be awesome. Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to talk about a couple things about the sun before we get off of that. First of all, the sun, in a word, it's success. It's triumph, glory. It's like the culmination of lots of things. And to me, the sun is kind of like the culmination of a whole series of dualities that have happened since the beginning of the deck. The Magus and the Priestess, the whole male, female, receptive, projective kind of energy. And then you go to the Empress and the Emperor, and that whole scenario plays out again. Then you go to the Lovers, and that whole scenario plays out again, which is attached again to the art card and the whole concept of fusing two opposites into something greater and a third thing that's even bigger. And then the moon and the sun, you can't have one without the other. They both are like two parts of one whole. So all of those things wind up being all of these dualities throughout the whole process of this fool's journey in the major arcana, and it winds up kind of culminating here, and in a way it's almost like the end of the lesson part of it. It's like, woohoo, it's the senior party, and then the eon and the universe is kind of like the graduation ceremony. I'm looking really, really, really super forward to that.
That's awesome. I wasn't even aware. I'm gonna have to tune in the morning to your broadcast. That's awesome. I love that. And I love, it's been something, I think, for me, that's kind of changed my life is doing stuff like this and committing to it, and just really being there for it, it's intention, right? That energy of intention is just so important, and I think it's really helped me to grow and feel better. I haven't come into my mystical wizardry as much as Brian, but that's, he's my teacher right now. He's helping me, so it's awesome. I've actually got 2 grapefruits and 7 lemons waiting to be boiled to make some kill juice.
And I've got the greatest stuff. This stuff is kind of like your homemade quinine water, right? So you boil up 2 grapefruits, 5 limes, throw the whole fruit in there. There's this amazing chemical in the white pulp that's on the inside of the fruit. Boil them until it's just really soft and kind of mushy, and then blend them up into a smoothie. Pour the water back in. Oh my goodness. That stuff, I wound up, somebody turned me on to that when I got sick about 6 months ago. And I've wound up, it has made so much difference. It's collagen, I've lost some of the wrinkles around my face. I've been really just have lots of energy. I'm doing things at a crazy level. I've made it part of my everyday thing, So
anyway. 2 grapefruits and 5 limes? 2
grapefruits, 5 limes, boil them up until they're, I usually go about an hour, hour and a half, just check them, and let it cool off, drain the water off, and then blend the fruits up, chop them up a little bit so they're not, they can blend, and then just add the water back to it. If it's a little too thick, add a little more water in, and I do a cup and a half of it every single morning when I get going, and it has just really, woo. I can't say enough good stuff about that.
I love that.
I'm
Thank
looking
you.
forward to it. Jill's calling it the Yowza juice.
Yowza, that's exactly right. So crystals, one of my favorite things about crystals, the configurations of the faces. Let's see, can I find it? There.
So amazing. That's a beautiful piece you have, my friend.
Oh, I've been a fanatic since I was 9 years old, my sweetness.
Wow.
I got a piece of quartz from my Aunt Honey when she passed away. She was like the family witch. And that piece of quartz was my treasure. I still have it to this day. I will never, ever get rid of it.
Wow.
I wound up, I'd go out to Mount, I haven't done it in recent times, but I used used to make a sojourn out to Arkansas, to Mount Ida, to mine every
I just went. It was great.
Is that just not the most amazing experience?
I just went to Mount Ida and it was really, really cool.
Oh my goodness. It's just, and the energy there, isn't that, wow.
It was so nice. I brought home so many goodies and I have to clean them. Like I haven't done anything with them yet. But it was because I didn't think it through. Like I drove from New York to Texas and went mining in Mount Ida once we passed through Arkansas. And once I got to Texas, I had an apartment there. So I left all my crystals in Texas, but I didn't think it through because when I gave up my apartment in Texas, I was like, now I'm going to have to pay for all these crystals to go back to New York. But my son just drove them back for me from Texas. So I have them now. I have to clean them and I want to share them with my friends because it was just so cool to be like the first person touching them from the earth. They're millions of years old and you're literally like the first person touching them.
That's amazing.
I know, right?
Wow.
So looking at you and going, oh, hi.
So
Ryan, I can't even imagine how much energy must be in that crystal that you had since you were 9 years old. Like like all of the stuff that's in that crystal
and Aunt Honey's energy too.
Yeah, exactly. I can't imagine that I got to come visit you, Brian, and just like experience the energy. I don't think I'll ever be the same.
You definitely need to come. You know, Jenna, I used to live in Miami. I lived in Miami for about 30 years. I'd been in the Grove at this place for about 15 years. And, you know, everything was changing down there. It was like time to go. So I like bolted out of the city and came to this place called Sebring. It's in the middle of the state and this whole little line of lakes and these crazy energy vortexes. And I found this like little group of witches here that are just amazing people. And like, wow, I'm just having the best time. And it was like,
awesome.
I just never would have anticipated it. You know, I'm like, what? First of all, I moved to Sebring. I never set foot here, and I didn't know a soul.
And you didn't know a soul?
I didn't know a soul. I just took the apartment, said yes, and I moved up.
And now he's the town wizard.
That's the Sagittarius rising in you.
Exactly. That's a sun moment.
Yeah,
that's totally. The little fire rising in you.
Yeah.
Totally. So Brian, you had sent me a couple of images. You want me to bring those up? You want to talk about them?
Oh, sure.
Cool. All right. So here we have, let me make this bigger.
You know, I got really fascinated. Are you familiar with an author named Katrina Raphael, Jenna?
I am not. I'm sorry.
She did a book called Crystal Enlightenment. And I got this back like way in the early 80s. And one of the things she did in there was to identify like the markings on the surfaces at the top of the crystals and that the configurations of the faces and how those react to each other kind of lend themselves to different uses. And, you know, like record keepers, these little triangular things on the face of it, you know, they became super fascinating. And I think that's one of the versions of the markings that most people know a lot. And if you can really get to it, a deep meditative state and concentrate on those, you can really ride into those amazingly. Yeah. Do you have the window crystal up there by any chance, Tim?
Window crystal, yes.
You know, I love these things. That's what I just had. That's what this one is too. Hold on, let's see. Can I find it, please? Almost.
Oh,
yeah,
right there.
Almost there. Yeah. So anyway, these window crystals are places where you can actually ride into the crystal and get information. Yes. And I've done that for a long, long time. And then someone actually turned me on to the fact that if that diamond is not a perfect diamond, but it's like leaning to the left, that's about going to the past. And if it's leaning to the right, that's about going to the future and finding things there. And I've really, I was kind of skeptical about that at first, but my own explorations, it was rather fruitful. Have you ever explored that at all, or gotten
not specifically with the going to the left and going to the right? I think for me, just connecting with the crystals, as far as like divination and gazing, more so than just the healing connection or the drawing the energy in, could be for me any crystal. But as far as like divination goes, like how you're saying going to the past or going to the future. For divination, I like using like quartz spheres for gazing.
Yep.
To kind of going into the future or just kind of seeing what's going on in that 360-degree circumference. But no, I haven't tried using the windows for going into the past.
Give it a shot.
I'd
love to know what you think, and see if you find anything there as well. One of the other things I really dig a lot is there's there we go. That's not bad. This is a transmitter crystal, and this is set up. The configuration. Let me see it here. Okay, there we go. Right. Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah, it's got that little diamond in the side, in the front, and then it's got 2 7-sided pieces, and then a little perfect shape on the back. And that's like a transmitter crystal, and will let you send things with a lot of extra juice. It's like you can do these things with every crystal, but it's kind of neat when you start discovering things that kind of lend themselves to that already, to that use. And it just gives me another excuse to find a crystal.
One thing I've noticed in this industry and in this market is like other crystals that weren't as popular when I was growing up are crystals that have become more popular, and classic crystals like your Vera Wang dress, which would be your clear quartz crystal. Like, it's like people don't have an appreciation for that anymore. And it's confusing me. It's almost like, in a way, social media is good because it's allowing people to connect to spirituality through crystals. But in a way, you're finding more of like a niche consumer, that it's more of a temporary, or like just today I had a woman and she's like, so how do I know the ones at Marshalls and Home Goods aren't real? And I'm like, that's like, I can't even go to Marshalls and Home Goods because I'm so offended. But I'm like, well, you'd have to really know your crystals. But it's more of that niche thing where like that beautiful piece you have, you don't really see those anymore. People are bringing more of the less popular crystals and making them more popular, when really I think we should all keep and appreciate our clear quartz. It's such a powerful amplifier. It's like, it's completely for mental clarity.
Absolutely. I could not.
And like being an older person, like when I remember I worked at a jewelry store and we sold quartz clocks, and that was the brand, Quartz Clocks. So people would be like coming into the shop, and like when I first opened, they're like, do you believe in this stuff? I'm like, have you ever heard of a quartz clock? How do you think that works, buddy? It's like copper and a quartz. Let's get this thing going.
It's a miraculous, just chemically, physics-wise, molecularly, it is an amazing conductor of energy. There's no doubt about it.
Right.
There's no, that's been scientifically proven. And the whole piezoelectricity, there's a low-level charge on crystals that are just sitting there. Yes. I mean, just in themselves, that have not been charged or haven't been around an energy source. They have that intrinsically in them already. It's pretty amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, those pieces you have are quite beautiful, so don't part with them.
Oh no, I won't. Believe me. Those are
really, really stunning pieces you have.
They are really a crazy thing. Oh, here, this is.
And you're seeing them less and less, not more and more.
Yeah. I have so many thoughts going through my mind because recently.
Double terminated, rutilated quartz.
Woohoo! Hold on a second, Brian. Let me.
And rutilated is so expensive.
You don't find these anymore. This is dog's tooth from the Elmwood mine in Illinois, man. Oh my goodness, yes. I love this piece.
I have one of those. That's a beaut.
Yeah. Don't they just fascinate you? I mean, can't you just look at them for hours, especially take them out in the sun? It's just like, wow. I've looked at them so many years.
I got a question. I got a question for you guys, because I mean, I'm really, you guys are like, up here with your knowledge and experience of crystals, and I'm really just learning stuff. But I've been having some conversations with people, and you know me, Brian, I love the live stream of consciousness is all about different modalities of spirituality and really deep conversations about existence and things like that. So we've been talking about alien beings. Do you guys feel like crystals are a life form of their own?
Ooh, that's a great question. I don't think I've ever been asked that question. Wow.
Well, here's my reason behind that, because I feel like when people talk about aliens and, well, why haven't we ever seen them and we can't prove them? My thoughts immediately I'm jumping to aliens don't exist in the 3D realm the way that we think they do. They're interdimensional beings, and and we think of life as carbon based. And I was like, what if there's life forms that are not carbon based? And the first thing that comes to my head when to explain that is crystals. Like, like that's not carbon based, and we know that they transmit energy, we know that they emit energy, we know that there's information in these crystals, right? So to me, I feel like crystals are almost an example of an alien life form, that we coexist with and we don't even know it. Or most people don't know. Yeah, I was going to say most people don't know. Most people don't even think about that is a possibility.
Yeah. And I've never heard anybody ask that question before. And it's so funny because when you said that, like, how like intuitively something will come to your mind, and I'm like, right away I knew what crystal I was going to say is definitely alien based, or is an alien itself, and that's moldavite. Moldavite to me is the most profound thing besides clear quartz. It's like that I've
It comes from a meteor. Oh my God! It came from outer space.
It literally came from outer space. It landed here, so it's not from our Earth.
It's beautiful too, man. Isn't it?
It's insane, and the power and the whole dynamic of how fast it brings rapid change. Like, and I'll tell you, 10 out of 10 people who buy a piece of moldavite from me will come back and be like, I lost my moldavite. And I'm like, where did it go? Like, people will always tell me it hops out of their setting. And to the point that I was like questioning the integrity of the person who I buy my moldavite from, like questioning the integrity of his work. And he's like, this has been going on since before the moldavite craze. He's like, the moldavite doesn't want to sit in its setting. It just doesn't.
Wow.
So everyone who buys a moldavite from me in a setting will be like, my stone popped out of my ring. My stone popped out of my earring. My stone popped out of my necklace. And then it's always like, yeah. And people always telling me I can't find my moldavite. And then they come back for another moldavite.
Look at that.
But we just had this phenomenal story happen last summer in my Port Jeff location. I was helping somebody at the counter. I have to share this story with you because I will be the first to admit I didn't believe in aliens. When people used to talk about aliens, I'd be like, And this story was, I believe in everything now. Okay.
Let's hear it.
She's at the jewelry counter talking to one of my employees, and I'm at the current counter checking somebody out, but I'm so distracted. I'm kind of like beyond this customer, listening to that customer, because I'm looking at, it was this gentleman that we call the Zen Master. I'm looking at the Zen Master's face, and he's like, and I'm looking to see who he's talking to. It's a woman and her mom. She's probably a little bit older than me, and then her daughter. And she's saying the story about how her ring alarm went off at like 2 or 3 a.m. And her husband like nudges her and he's like, go see who's at the door. And she's like, you go see who's at the door. He's like, just go see who's at the door. So she goes and there's no one at the door. So I guess they go back to bed, and the next morning they rewind the ring and there's literally an alien on her ring. And he's like looking at the camera like this. So she plays the video for everyone in my store. Like, there was witnesses to this. And everybody asks me, like, what did it look like? And I'm like, it literally looked like what they make aliens look like in the movies.
Wow.
It was like clear, kind of like a cross between Aliens in the movies and this other movie I saw with Ed Harris, The Abyss.
Oh, yeah.
It was like kind of like that. Like, it was like translucent. And it literally was looking at the ring alarm like this.
That's so
and I
crazy.
said to her, they were coming back for the moldavite.
Oh my God, that's crazy. I know Brian popped out for a second. Oh, there he is. He's back.
Okay. I like went the second you said that, like you did the thing into the eye, and I like it bumped me out.
That's great. Janice is saying she has 2 pieces of moldavite. So Janice, has your moldavite ever jumped out of its skin and not wanted to be, or has it acted strange? I'd love to hear that. That's really awesome. I mean, so that's awesome, Jenna. Thank you. I thought I was like, they're going to think I'm an idiot for asking this question.
Not at all.
But
Great
I'm
question.
really fascinated by it, and I do again, outside of the tarot, you know, that's my fascination, is the universe, you know, and the cosmos and the meaning of life and consciousness and all of that. So I'm really fascinated by crystals. My girlfriend is really big into crystals, and I know that they have energy. Jilly actually has given me some amethyst for whenever I have a headache to put it. She's always like, here, put that amethyst on your head. And I do, and I put it by my temples, and it always helps. So
oh yes,
it's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Awesome.
Well, listen, we've kind of done it looks like.
Oh wow, we at 10 o'clock already. We have so much more to explore.
I'm so sorry.
No, don't be silly. That means we'll just have to have you back, Jenna, because this is awesome. I love these experiences and all the stuff. So that experience you were just telling us, now you believe in aliens just because. Have you seen the video? You saw the video.
She showed everybody in the store.
Oh yeah. You were saying she showed. I got to see this video.
I said to her, send me the video. Send me the video. She's like, I will. I was like, please don't forget. Can you send it to me now? She's like, I'll send it. And she never sent it.
Oh my God. And so you don't have contact with her anymore?
I mean, I'm sure she'll come back into the shop, you know?
We've got to get that
show
video.
Up now.
We've got to get that video. Yeah, we've got to get that video. Tammy saying that went too fast. Yeah, this is great. This is when you get 3 people in a room who just like love talking about what they're talking about. It's just, time flies when you're having fun, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So Wizard, tell us what's next. Tell us
next week.
How do we end this show?
We're gonna dive into the Eon, which will be really a very special card. That's really near and dear to my heart. It has lots of meanings, but that's really about the contact with your ally, with you on your higher plane, and that's been something I've really been working on a lot in my own personal practice here of late, and can't wait to share that. And you know, next week I'll be introducing Creepy Baby Taxi, the first light painted graphic novel, actually, and it's about a bunch of little evil fighting creatures running around the universe having fun and fighting evil and doing tarot readings. And being a little magic guy. So we'll introduce some characters next week and start reading some chapters out of the book. I think that'll be really fun. And cool. You know, we're coming up on the universe, and the universe will be the kind of official ending for this section of that. And the video for that is kind of cool in that it has a little piece of every video from the Fool all the way through, awesome, like put together on that. So that'll be really kind of fun. And
awesome.
Other than that, I'm going to sit and dance around in the garden in the sunlight now that the darkness is gone, and yeah, enjoy.
You know what? And I just thought of this as we're wrapping up the show, and we talked about the sun and the energy of the sun. And I think for me, you know, music is a big part of energy. Music is a vibration, a frequency, and it really affects everybody differently. But there is no doubt that there is one song that anytime it comes on, immediately my spirits are just foof. It's like I am just like there, and I'm going to put it on right now. If it comes on. Oh, start it over. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but Here Comes the Sun by the Beatles.
Yeah, can't hear it.
Oh, you can't hear it?
That's nice. Very apropos. Aw.
So anyway, I don't mean to that's what immediately popped into my head, and it's just like that guitar comes on, and then when he just says, "Here comes the sun," it's just like my whole body vibrates. It's just so beautiful.
Here it is.
Here it is. So that was the Sun episode. Jenna, hang out in the back room while we run the exit, and we'll talk to you afterwards. And
great.
Thank you everybody for being here and bringing your energy always. The Fool's Journey. We will continue next week. See you guys then.
Thanks so much.